Did any haters recognize you in any way that felt dangerous? Dang, that guy was very f***ing intense. Holy shit. How did you feel after that encounter with that crazy Israeli guy, the one who kept cursing?
Did you see that?
I did not see that. What happened?
This was probably the most, I won't say like scared, because have you decided what to do with all the footage? No. Yeah, kind of. I'm so uncomfortable putting anything like down solidly in terms of like a documentary, or like here's my take on Israel Palestine, because I feel like I keep learning more stuff and I always feel bad putting something down permanently. I think what I might do, the easiest thing is, for like the next like 3 weeks, maybe for 2 hours a day, I'll just go through I'll just basically do like 2 hours for one day, 2 hours for the next day, and like that until I guess it's like 14 to 15 days worth of the trip, and then we'll just get through all of it. And then I can like show the interviews and all that. I think maybe that might be something. Yeah. I could try to cut it into like a larger video, but I'm not even sure what it would look like. Anything you would change for the next research trip? Yeah, I mean, there are things I would do differently, but it's boring for you. It's managing stuff on my end. I don't want to dynamically schedule anything while I'm down there. It's just way too much. Like between every single interview, I'm juggling like 4 people. I think a lot of people didn't think I was seriously going to go. So like when I went down, we only had like 9 or 10 interviews confirmed. So I'm like trying to juggle like all the different times and like balance out the schedules between people that are awake and asleep at different hours, like trying to figure out and I'm doing this like in between other interviews. So it's just like pretty stressful, I would say. Yeah, while trying to figure out where to sleep, while having like a shitty internet connection, while, just lots of logistics stuff. Did any haters recognize you in any way that felt dangerous? Nah, nobody's ever dangerous like that. Something about kissing I didn't even go to the Western Wall. Well, I don't care about like the historical sites. Do you have any scary or dangerous moments? Not really, no. I think it's a pretty chill place in general. Why were you dumpster diving? Our video guy lost, or potentially he left some of the drives back at the Airbnb, and when we went back, the staff had already cleaned everything, so we had to look for the drives out in the dumpsters to see if they were tossed, and they were. We found them. Jesus Christ.
Look at these fucking junkies. Bin raking fucking homeless Frodo Baggins.
Do you find the experience of actually going there to see it firsthand in some way enriching that is hard to explain? Does it make you think about going to Ukraine and such? I feel like going, I don't know. I'm still like sorting through all of my brain space on that. As I get more and more serious with like the political stuff, I'm having a harder and harder time like engaging with the world that I'm in right now. Like listening to like Hassan talk about this shit, and then like after like being there and talking to people and interviewing people, and it's just, it feels like so stupid beneath me. That sounds very arrogant, but like it is. Like the online discourse is so shit. From like that and traveling around the country, spending time in Ramallah and surrounding neighborhoods, going to Hebron, going to Nablus, like all these things, and then like coming back here and talking like, oh well, actually all of it's apartheid. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't know, Jesus, but this is why historians don't join in on debates, probably. Yeah. Did being on the ground shift some of your opinions? Not that much. No, I think especially in my interviews, I think it actually reinforced a lot of what I thought, but it was good to get like a firsthand account of it. There are a couple of takeaways. There are a couple of big takeaways that I got that I think I could have only gotten by being there, though. I don't know if I'll reveal those now or if I'll do that as we go through the footage. I feel like I want to save it for the footage. There's actually a very nice and neat narrative of the trip for me personally. So, did you visit Kfar Aza or the Nova Festival site or any other specific attack points of October 7th? Yes, I went to both of those places. Yikes, those places are pretty fucked up. Do you think you get why Finkelstein was mad because he thought you needed to be there on location to talk about things? No, I don't know how much Finkelstein's even been on location. Supposedly he lived in some part of the West Bank for a little bit. The more and more I learn and study, the more unserious I view somebody like Finkelstein. I think if somebody cited him for anything ever, I think that's a huge red flag to just ignore everything they have to say about. He's a very unserious person. What's the plan to squash the online discourse that's beneath you serious? I mean, there's nothing. I mean, you have to participate, right? It's kind of the world that I'm in, but... Did you expect the blowback from the tweet about the West Bank settlers? Yes. remember, a lot of what I tweet and a lot of my public communication is like adjusting expectations and making sure that the audience is aware of where I stand on things. So it was important when I went over it to kind of put, because I know that I'm getting a lot of Israeli fans who are like, oh, you're so cool because you've got such a free spirit and an open mind and you're a critical thinker. But you only saying that because I'm like pushing your side of the story. But as soon as I start critiquing Israel, some of you guys will get mad as fuck. So yeah, that. So I have to. It's important. Those tweets are important. What gets you emotional? Anything about being at the festival, etc. that was intense? I'm just not that kind of a person. I don't know why. I'm just not. I feel bad. There was a lady there that survived the Nova Festival massacre. She was like in the middle in one of these caravans with like her husband on top of her, and like listening to people screaming, getting shot all around. And she was telling her story. And like, I'm listening, I'm engaged. I'm, considering obviously it's a horrific story. It's miraculous that she survived. But I know afterwards when she started asking me questions, she's like, yeah, I don't know if you even, I couldn't tell if you just didn't believe me because of the expression on your face. So I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to cry for you, Jesus? Yeah, But no, her story was pretty harrowing. Yeah, and then standing anywhere along the Gaza Strip, you can hear the artillery going constantly, especially especially in Reem. It's loud, like you can hear it going off pretty frequently. It's pretty creepy. What did the white/brown people ratio seem like? My leftist friends think Israel is a large majority white country and never believe me that most Israelis are Mizrahi, let alone that 20% are straight up Palestinian. Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, like I've read this and I say this. Well, actually, most Jews in Israel are actually from the Middle East, and I'll say that. But when you go there, it's actually pretty like, oh shit, there's a lot of fucking like not traditionally white people here. I guess you don't really feel that when you don't really feel that reading stats and everything online, but that when you go over there, it'd be pretty funny because I feel like most people just assume that like, oh, all the Jews are just like very white. Yeah. Did you talk to any of the evacuated Israelis from the south and north? A lot of them are in hotels. We had plans to, but we ended up having to split one day where Loner Box went north, and I had to go interview the Ahmed TV guy in the Knesset because I don't want to miss the opportunity to go to the Knesset. So I went and I interviewed him, and then Loner Box went north. How were the conversations with translators like? Pretty good. Just depended on the translator. The New York Times correspondent guy that took us to the West Bank, that guy was very fucking intense. Holy shit. You ever watch a movie and there's some guy and he's like, whatever you do, kid, don't look at anybody, okay? Just stay near me. And the guy like knows like all the criminal. That's what this guy was like, our tour dude for the 2 days in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, and in Ramallah and the surrounding refugee camps. This guy like knew every motherfucker in this. He was crazy walking. He knew every single person. People would drive by, be like, "Oh, what's that?" And he'd start talking Arabic or whatever. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, that dude was very intense. He's a very good translator. Yeah, very good. I'm super glad I got connected to that guy. I feel like I got a really good tour of like getting into the refugee camps and walking through and everything. Yeah. Were there any interviews you hated or thought the person being interviewed wasn't being truthful or bad faith? I'll get to that. I'll go through them, I think, as I go through. How was Yishai Fleischer? Yishai was interesting. I appreciated the guy. He was fun. He was like very open to having like an adamant, a loud like back and forth. I appreciated that a lot. Yeah, like I said, I don't think I want to. What is this? Is somebody gonna okay, good one. Yeah, I don't think I want. I think I want to just go through it sequentially on stream. I'll just go through the footage every day a little bit, so that we have the whole cohesive story without spoiling too much. Who was your favorite interview? Shlomo Ben-Ami, and I feel like I'm biased because they were my contacts prior. Shlomo Ben-Ami and Benny Morris were both delightful to talk to. Yeah. How did you feel after that encounter with that crazy Israeli guy, the one who kept cursing? I don't know. It just felt like a crazy homeless encounter to me. I feel like a lot of people that made a huge deal about that on Twitter are just, they either live in suburbs or they've never seen like crazy homeless people before. I don't know. It's just like, oh, I thought it was kind of funny. I thought the juxtaposition of him like coming was like, hello, Fred, my friend, with the friend's shirt. And then he starts screaming at us when he sees the camera. I'm like, well, okay, dude.
I have a really important question, Lorna, regarding Destiny. What is his obsession with ice cream?
He's like a baby, he's like a child.
Bro, like he threw a tantrum about the Oreo milkshake.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't there when he threw the tantrum. I was with you in the sour fridge, and then I come back and listening about him wanting a fucking milkshake and not actual food.
Yeah.
And then apparently he was throwing a tantrum, wanting to walk to the shop that's like 30 minutes away, instead of just letting my brother go get him it.
Yeah, let him, yeah, he likes French fries and ketchup and then ice cream to afterward.
Okay. I was throwing a tantrum because I wanted to go walk and get the milkshake. There were moments of this trip that probably stress the maximum, I think, bandwidth I've ever allotted towards a particular thing before. And I think it was on day 5 or day 6, an issue had popped up, and there was a possibility that we had lost all of our footage up to that point. And I was realizing that as I was going over the drives with my camera dude. So it was starting to look like it was possible that and this was interviews with Olmert, former prime minister, interviews with, just great, really, really, really good interviews that were all lost, possibly. And that was happening on top of the stress of dynamically getting all these schedules and coordinating with all these people and being shorted on sleep and making sure that I'm getting everything paid. Like there's just a lot of stuff going on constantly. And when I realized that data thing came up, I wanted to put on my headphones and just go take a walk. So I found some dessert place 30 minutes away, and I just wanted to put my shit on and just take a 30-minute walk to clear my fucking head. And I think the guy, I think Sev's dad was interpreting it as oh, I just want to walk, but I just had to take a walk and clear my fucking brain because I was about to have a meltdown. Oh shit. Yeah. But that's what that. So I was throwing a mini temper tantrum, but it's not because I wanted to walk and get the milkshake myself. I just needed to take a walk. Was there any tension between leisure and business for this trip, or was everyone down for? Oh, I just did all. It was all business for me. What was the most sweat-stingy moment besides a dude talking outside your car? I don't think I had any moments where I was where I felt like I was in danger or something. Yeah. How about the meetup? Did you expect a bomber? The meetup was wild. I think I told my dude because he wanted to schedule it at a restaurant. And I was like, there's a chance that I could get 50 to 100 people showing up with the 2 days notice. And I'm pretty sure I think there were easily over 300 people that showed up for that. When I was walking down and then we turned the corner, we saw the people. I thought there was a thing. There must have been an event going on at the beach, and maybe 20 or 30 or 50 of these people were for me. I didn't realize that it was 300 plus people. And I think a bunch had already left because we ended up being an hour late because it took so long to get there. So holy shit. Yeah, that was wild. Did anyone accost that girl that had tattoos with you? I feel like it's wild she actually went to the West Bank. I'll get through this more when I get through my footage. This is the biggest takeaway that I came away from in the West Bank. I read 2 books while I was down there. One was A Jewish State by Theodor Herzl, and the other was a book called Culture and Conflict in the Middle East. I don't remember the professor's name who wrote that book. Just because it's good. You probably should read, because Herzl, it's like the modern Zionist founder of the country. And then the Culture and Conflict in the Middle East gives you a good perspective on how do Arabs think in the Middle East is interesting, I think. One thing that I noticed when I was down there, I will never in my life, okay? I will never use American Arabs or Muslims as an example of moderate Muslims again, okay? If you look at the history of Jews in the Middle East, it's an amazing history, okay? You've got people that are scattered across the world that have been dispossessed from almost every land, that can only work in finance, in these transitory jobs that they go from place to place because they weren't allowed to be carpenters, they're not allowed to be artisans, they're not allowed to work in the normal population, right? And these people who had been dispossessed from their lands for 2,000 plus years, scattered across the world, all managed to show and while showing up in this other land, and half of them get fucking killed in the Holocaust, managed to carve out a country against all odds, to some extent, truly, among a sea of enemies, right? I think I've kind of conveyed that as I've done my research, as we've looked at the history of Israel and everything. A second thing that is really hard to see, however, is I feel like the Palestinian people that live in Israel and in the West Bank, and probably in Gaza, although I didn't go there, are also a tremendously amazing people. Of all the people in the world that are poised to hate their neighbors, to engage in extremist violence, to do all this shit, Palestinians in Israel have like the best reason ever. You've got Jews and Muslims. You've got a history of violence against both sides. You've got an ongoing like oppressive state. You've got, you know, radicalization and other proxy entities that are trying to push you to do things, right? Despite all of these external factors, despite all of these pushes towards that population to be incredibly violent, the fact that 20% of Israel's population are Arab Muslims, essentially, and didn't have like a third intifada on October 7th, or don't engage in like mass violence against their Jewish neighbors, or don't engage in all of this, what you would expect to see like this radical Islamic behavior, I think is an unbelievably, unfathomably amazing thing. I think that Israel's biggest failing, I noticed this as I came back, I started to say this to Israeli people, they need to talk about their Israeli Arabs, their Palestinians that live in the state of Israel way more than they actually do. I always give the ones in the United States as an example of like, oh, look, like Muslims can moderate. And people are like, oh, well, it's the U.S. and they're not blah, 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 blah. I think the best example should be the Muslims that live in Israel and in the West Bank. I think that they're an amazing group of people who have done like really amazing things. Every single Arab household that we went into, like everybody was super polite. Nobody, you know, was second guessing us. You know, nobody was, you know, giving us weird eyes or being distrustful. You know, everybody, Jews and Arabs, you know, are like, everybody offers you coffee as soon as you come in. They all got things laid on your table to eat. I don't know. I think both sets of people that live there are super, super, super like against all odds. Like the Palestinians are the second most literate group of the entire Arab world, which is, it's just very. Both people are just super fascinating. Oh, I bring this up because somebody said like, oh, well, when because I took Lena with me, and when she was in the West Bank, you weren't scared about her being in the West Bank. The only time Lena ever had issues with her tattoos or anything was actually when we were in Hebron, and it was from a Jew going into the temple of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, and it was a Jewish woman that came up and was like, she said this or whatever to her. Yeah. What is well, she was like waving her finger at her and like, obviously, yeah. Why not release the interviews on their own? Who said I'm not going to release them on their own? It's essentially what you were saying. Sucks about the checkpoints in the West Bank. It's hard to hate people when you're around all day and night. Yeah, I feel like, there are different policy issues that I can see in Israel, like that are very clearly not good. But now it feels weird to get so invested in the domestic policy of the country, because I'm like, it's not even my country, right? But like, I think killing all the work permits from the West Bank, I think is a huge fucking mistake. I think that Jews that all stopped buying from Palestinian sellers inside Israel proper, I think is a huge fucking mistake. It seems like since 2000, since 2005, since disengagement of the Gaza Strip, it just feels like there's this gradual moving away from Israelis and Palestinians like doing business with each other and integrating with each other and talking to each other. And you've got these cities where sometimes they live side by side. You've got like, you know, we went to the moose, what are they called? I don't know what it's called in Arabic. The open markets or whatever in Kfar Qasim on Shabbat, and you see Jews that are shopping there because all the Jewish stores are closed and shit. Like the people are so much more integrated than I had originally thought. And people trying to kill all of that integration by fucking with the work permits, because all the work permits from the West Bank are frozen right now, that are trying to like prevent travel. I think that's a really, really, really big mistake. I also think that Israel's political system is fucking garbage. Holy shit. I used to think that Netanyahu was just like super far right, crazy, radical, hateful, never wants peace with the Palestinians, crazy far right. Netanyahu's crazy. No. I think what Netanyahu does well is he speaks well, and he's good at building a coalition. And the Israeli political system, the threshold for people to be seated in the Knesset, and the fact that there is no geographical voting at all, it's just one thing for the whole country, and the fact that there are so many parties is so dog shit. It is such a dog shit fucking system. And I feel like the reason why Netanyahu's been able to stay in power is just because he's just exceptionally good at building and holding onto a coalition. But my God, that system, they either need like a second body like an upper house or a lower house in the parliament. I think something that represents geography would be good. And they need to up the threshold for seating parties because it's just, oh my God, isn't it standard in Europe? Is it? I don't know. Maybe that is standard. Maybe I really just like the US two-party system. I thought when we talk about the Knesset, I thought that Likud was like, oh, Likud is probably like 50 member. It's a 50 member party. And then you've got like 2 or 3 smaller parties that they have to make deals with, you know, to make concessions with sometimes. This is fucking cancer. Oh, it is 32. This is a cancer government. Like this is actual fucking cancer. Like your government is comprised of like 8 different fucking parties. Like what? It's like single member party. This is cringe, I think. I don't know. You still haven't explained why it's bad? Because the only reason you hear about people like Smoltrich or Ben Gvir is because they're from Shash. I think it's this one, right? Is they have so much power and they have these big minister positions, but it's just because wait, is he? The leader of the National Religious Party, Religious Zionism. Is it this one? Oh, okay. Smoltrich is here. And Ben Gvir is, somebody said Otzma Yehudit. Probably it's that one. I don't know. I think that system is cancer. But, hey, I could be wrong. It's really hard to generalize. It's really hard to generalize Israelis too, because like so many like different Arabs in Kfar Qasim had different opinions, different Arabs, different Palestinians, and different in like each of the cities had different opinions on things. But a lot of different Israelis had different opinions on things. It's I don't know if I would generalize anybody at this point. I'll probably like it'll solidify more in my mind, and I'll have more. There were some general trends that I noticed. I did notice, for instance. That Palestinians, they speak very vaguely when it comes to like figuring shit out, which is interesting. So I think on my interview with Ahmed Tibi, I think I went over this multiple times where I asked him like, hey, okay, so what do you think a final solution should look like for a peace deal? Like, how do you think it should look between Israel and Palestine? And it's always like 2 things: freedom, democracy, or sovereignty and freedom. And it's like you can never actually get a hard answer on anything. I don't know if a single Arab or a single Palestinian gave me a hard answer on any question like that, which I thought was interesting. And it speaks to, I guess, like a different way of viewing agreements or arrangements on both sides. Yeah. Was there a kinship from Israeli Arabs with the Palestinians? Yeah, I think Israeli Arabs even consider themselves Israeli Palestinians. I don't think Israeli Arab is very common. Most of them consider themselves Palestinians, and I think they do feel a kinship. Yeah. Israelis did give hard answers, though. Yeah, they did, but I think it's a different mentality between both people. Like I feel like culturally. If you can abstract like the pure elements of their culture, I think that if you told a Jewish person you're living in this house, but somebody wants to come over and take over this land, but we can give you like a better house over here, like unironically, it's better than this one. I think that on average, Jewish culture, they'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'll move and I'll go do that. I think that in like the Arab mind, I think on average, I'm speaking averages, somebody comes over and makes that same deal, and they're like, no, this is my house. I will sit here and either live in worse conditions, or I will fight and die for this property. This is my land. I think that there is, and I'd already kind of seen this just in like studying and reading before even talking to anybody, that there's kind of like different broad strains of thought culturally between Arabs and between, I guess, Jews. But yeah, it's interesting. Do you think the vagueness in the answers were them hiding their true feelings on a solution? Like I said, I need more concepts to solidify in my mind first. The feeling that I have now, and this is subject to change, the feeling that I have is the reason why they gave vague answers, I don't think it's because they don't want a deal or they don't want to give an answer on anything. I think it's because they're looking for something intangible. Like a feeling that I get is a Palestinian isn't looking for 67 borders, for 100,000 refugees to come back, for 6% compensation. They're looking for like a restoration of honor and integrity. And when you're living under the thumb of somebody else that can control where you can like drive, whatever deal you want to talk about doesn't matter. So when you ask when you ask these people largely like, oh, well, what do you think a peace agreement looks like? Right? I think in the mind of like a Jewish person or in a Westerner in general, you're thinking like, okay, well, cool. Well, give me the percentage of land swaps. Give me the, give me how many refugees you want back. Give me what we do with the holy sites. And I think in their mind, they're thinking like, I need to live a life that allows me to feel honor and integrity for the way that I live. And whatever the arrangement ends up being, that has to be satisfied. Now, there's going to be some underlying physical conditions, material conditions that have to be satisfied for that to happen, right? Like you're not going to say like, okay, cool. Well, we're going to give you all the honor and integrity, but we're taking all the land. Like that's never going to work, But I think that there are conditions. I think that there are conditions that can be ameliorated that don't have a reason to exist right now that I'm not aware of. That I think would go towards alleviating some of that. Like one thing would be, like in the West Bank, I don't know why water is made more available to settlements than to Palestinian villages or refugee camps. I've never been presented a good reason for that ever. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what it would be like to live at the bottom of a valley and then you look up on a hill because that's where all the settlements are. They're always in strategic positions on hills. And you've got, you notice for every Palestinian house, if you get pictures of Palestinian refugee camps, like if you ever look at any villages or any of these cities. Oh, wait, this is in Lebanon. Every single one of these houses has these giant black or white barrels on top of it, and it's because they have to store water. I don't know why and it's because they don't always have reliable water coming from Israel. I don't know why you would provide water to the settlements without restriction, but then like selectively give water to people that live out in the West Bank that are Palestinians. It's stupid. It's not good. Like I think that there are a lot of issues like this that like need to be resolved. There's no good reason for it. There's no excuse for it. And I think all it does is it furthers that humiliation. Yeah. Do you understand more on why Israelis are so regressive on the West Bank? Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, it's just a fear thing, right? But I mean, like, when we're scared, we act irrational. I mean, that happens all the time. But at some point, you would think you learn from history. Maybe, right? Like in the United States, we got scared after 9/11. We blew up the Middle East. I think typically when people are scared, they tend to make poor choices. When you react fearfully, instead of acting proactively and trying to figure out what's the best way forward. Testimonies from Gazan migrant workers before 10/7 are insane. They have very positive views of their Jewish employers. And did you see Shin Bet found no involvement by migrant workers in the attacks? Freedom movement is probably the most important economic reform they could move towards. Yeah, the free movement is really important. And yeah, Shin Bet never did. I think they explicitly said they never found evidence that the people with the work permits were the ones that had given any information to Hamas or anything else. Yeah. Ari Milo in chat says that those tanks are not for water storage, but for water heating the sun. The tanks are used to store, a lot of it is used to store extra water because they don't have water available to them 24/7. They might use some of it as water heating too, but I mean, none of the Israeli houses have any of these tanks. They all have electric water heaters. You can argue that maybe they don't have the money for it in the West Bank, but the average consumption of water for a house in the West Bank on the Palestinian side, I think it's like 1/5 of the average consumption of water on the settler side. Thought those black tanks are more for heating water for showers. I mean, they've got white tanks too. In this picture, it's all black. And some of the pictures I've had, oh wait, these might be newer. They have white tanks as well. It's not just black ones. They also have black ones. Why do you call it the West Bank? Because I think it's probably the best term for that region right now. Do you visit the Golan Heights? The Golanis are Druze Arabs and observe an attitude towards self-determination where they believe they ought to be loyal to whoever protects them. Curious to their mindset. I didn't get a chance to go up there. Loner Box went north. I don't know if he went to the Golan Heights either, though. I don't think he did. How'd you not get a tan at all? I was fuck me. I was about to say I was Jewishly applying sunscreen. I was religiously applying sunscreen like crazy. Because if I got ultra sunburned on day one, I would have fucking killed myself. That. Did you ask any questions related to how the Palestinians think of Egypt's position on the conflict after 1973? Yeah, a few. But you got to keep in mind too that like the average person in any country isn't going to like know all of their fucking history, right? That like at this point, like I easily know more history than the average Israeli, the average Palestinian. But that's going to be true of anybody that studies the history of a country, right? Like the average German doesn't know like in detail like all of the history of their country. Or the average American doesn't know fucking anything about anything. Or the average person of a country doesn't know like all the conflicts and all the people and blah blah. They'll know like major talking points or major historical points, and then especially for older people, then you just kind of like move on. Unless you lived it, then you might have a different opinion. But yeah, so it's so like going like it would. As much as it might seem like it shouldn't seem like it. Like I can't go up to like a random Palestinian who's like 32 years old and be like, hey, so in 1966, in his speech to the Arab trade unionists, Gamal Abdel Nasser said, this quote. Can you tell me how you feel about it? Like nobody. Just to be super clear, the best thing you can come up with for Palestinian grievances is they have to wait in line for 1 hour for a completely legitimate security check, and they have to store water in some tanks just to be safe. That's it, right? No. I think it's the fact that the entire territory of the West Bank is like under completely unclear supervision. I think it's the fact that the like geopolitical conflict in the area between Israel and the West Bank and between the PA and Hamas has made it so that holding elections is almost impossible. I believe Israel wouldn't even let Jerusalem vote in the last elections that they wanted to hold in 2021. I think there's a discrepancy between how resources are doled out to Palestinians in the West Bank versus how settlers have resources doled out to them in the West Bank. I still think it's abhorrent, and I think it's even more abhorrent now that expansion of settlements is continuing into a territory whose final status hasn't been resolved. We don't even know what it's going to look like, and it's probably making any future peace agreement even harder to reach a solution on. I think that I don't want to say racism because it's more and it's less than that, but the discrimination or the fear that Jews have in Israel proper and their reluctance to engage in business with Palestinians after October 7th, I think is incredibly detrimental. It makes it so that Palestinians are earning less money. It increases the instability in their neighborhoods. It reduces the integration between both sides. I don't know. Why do you present yourself as pro-Israel when you're more or less pro-Palestine? I'm not pro either side. Both of them. I'm Israel and Palestine. I'm not here to be pro either side. That's not what I do. I'm not part of that region at all. I'm a fucking white American. Okay, I have no stake in the end of the day. I just I read the history, I say the current events, and I give my opinion on how I think things should be. What's fair, what's not fair. That's it. I'm not pro whatever you want me to be. By calling it West Bank, you are affirming the illegal annexation of Judea and Samaria and supporting Jewish erasure by Arab colonists for the sake of political pragmatism and being coy with liberal progressives. Kinda sickening. Gotcha. Here is one thing I will say. I would say that the most hopeless that I think I felt for the entire conflict was listening to settlers talk. I'm so sorry, Yishai, I love you. And I appreciate all the settlers that let me come into their house and speak with them and were willing to speak with me. But I think that those people are the ones that I felt like were the most intractable, the ones that were the least able to be negotiated with. And I don't even mean like outpost people. I just mean like, fuck, what settlement were we in? Can I look at my pictures? Hold on. Okay, genius, what should it be called and why? He's going to tell you that it should be called Judea and Samaria. That's what he's going to say, because that's what the lands were called when Jews were there 2,000 years ago, and that by calling it the West Bank, you're conceding that it's just a piece of geography that has no proper name and whose final status still needs to be settled. You can tell a lot about a person when they talk about Israel-Palestine. You can tell a lot about them immediately just based on the vernacular they use. Like if they say Arab-Israeli or something, then that means like they're probably going to be a little bit more pro-Zionist. Most of them would consider themselves Palestinian Israelis. Almost all of them would consider themselves Palestinians first as an ethnicity, and then Israeli is is like the country that they belong to. Or when people say West Bank instead of Judea and Samaria, or when people say, there was one other big one. Fuck, I don't remember. There was one other big one. Calling it the West Bank is calling it a piece of Jordan. No, it's really not. It just means West Bank of the River Jordan. That's all it means, my dude. Nobody is confused about thinking it belongs to Jordan. Did you touch the wall? No. I didn't even go to the fucking wall. After the trip, what should the U.S.'s role be in the conflict? I feel like increasing integration between both sides is important. I feel like internationally, I just feel like nobody should have an opinion about it at all. I think especially coming away from it, it just feels so stupid listening to the international conversations about it. Although it helps the Palestinians to some extent. They feel helped that the international push, like that Israel looks bad in the media right now and that might help them. I don't know if it will or won't, but how'd you spend 40K on 2 weeks? Well, it was international airfare for 4 people. I think I ended up paying around 25,000 in for tour guides, and then for connections to other people, and then for security for 10 days. There was a rental car for 10 days. There's food every day. There's the Airbnb and hotel costs. I'd have to go back and tell it. It was like 30 to 50K. I'm going to guess around 40K probably for everything, yeah. As a tourist, you were only exposed to the small minority of good and de-radicalized Palestinian/Arabs. The overwhelming majority are devout followers of the religion of peace, and you're letting a small minority shape your entire opinion on the entire region. It's beyond retarded. You are beyond retarded. I just want you to know, okay? I don't know where the future of the region goes, but like if the country of Israel dies, it's because of retards like you. Like you are literally the cancer that is killing your country, and I don't even care. I'll just laugh. Like I said, regardless of how things go one way or another, but like the settler mindset or your mindset that like these are people not to be trusted, blah, blah, blah. You are the cancer that is killing. What did I say that is wrong? Well, firstly, you said that I was only exposed to the small minority of good and de-radicalized Palestinians and Arabs. I mean, we were in Ramallah. We went to 2 refugee camps. Unless you think the people living in the camps are de-radicalized and what did I need to go to Jenin? Is there like 1 or 2 cities that I could have gone to that you think are like represent the real fucking Arabs? So you're retarded there on who I actually spoke to. Number 1, yes, the fact that you are alive is proof. Number 2, and I'll say this again too, Israelis are a little delusional about like, again, the security thing. I feel that more than I did before, okay? The idea like the fact that you're even alive right now and breathing is proof. Like, bro, get over yourself. Holy shit. Israelis will sit here on some shit where like, we live in a fucking battleground. It's constant. It's death. It's Arabs everywhere. And fucking like every single Israeli I talked to had this story. It was like, yeah, so we knew that Iran was going to attack in 6 hours. So like, obviously we're running out. We're like buying groceries and, we're getting coffee and, we still got like an hour or 2 left before the strike. So we're kind of like chilling. We're just like, bro, get the fuck out of here. Okay. With your hyper exaggerated bullshit. All right. Yeah. I don't think that the Palestinians get credit for having advanced. I think maybe it was a little bit too harsh on Abbas. On Mahmoud Abbas and on the Palestinian Authority. They definitely have problems, but I think that the state of security in the West Bank and the fact that Palestinians didn't rise up and do Intifada number 3 on October 7th, I think that's a really, really, really big deal that didn't get talked about anywhere near enough. And it's something that I came to appreciate a lot after spending time just like being in the area, talking to everybody. Like, yeah. Doesn't that have a lot to do with Fatah's cooperation? Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically Fatah is like a party of like the PLO, which is like the thing that is like in charge of the Palestinian Authority. Yeah. Your entire worldview was shifted due to selection bias. They most likely acted sycophantic for a PR stunt. They saw your cameras and changed their tune. Absolutely retarded. What are you talking about? Number 1, my entire worldview hasn't changed. Okay, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I said it before. If October 7th happened in the West Bank, I wouldn't even give a fuck. All right, number 1. Number 2, the settlers are the cancer that is killing your country. Okay, your Ben-Gvirs, your Smoltriches, your Smotrich, not Smoltrick. The settlers are the cancer killing your fucking country. The refusal for Israel to like finalize the Palestinian issue and to just keep kicking that can down the road. If your country fails, it's going to be because of that. Like it will be the hubris of Israel to imagine that they could infinitely push that problem aside and never actually deal with it. Of course, your worldview changed. A month ago, you were talking about being scared to go to Paris or London because of the Muslims there, and now look at you today defending the fucking West Bank Palestinians, limfeo. You can't make it up. I still feel I wouldn't change what I'm saying, right? The joke is that some of the Muslims that end up going to places like Paris or London are literally hyper radicalized, but I don't know if I would say it's because of Islam. I think that there's a unique connection of like the fact that they are Muslims, but also the fact that they're living in European places that don't really accept them or integrate them well, and then the fact that there's like young people with like anxieties and shit, and it comes together to make this horrible fucking like like fuck. But even honest to God, and now I see maybe because there are some crazy anti-Arabs in my chat. Even that is like half joking. I don't think that if I mean I've been to London after making like anti-Muslim jokes. I don't think I would die if I was in London or Paris. I'm like half joking when I say this. You are half correct about the settlers, but you're 100% wrong about the Palestinians. About the Palestinians after the 7th of October, we know that 90% of them are Hamas supporters. Yeah, but I mean, like, they probably support Hamas because, like, they feel like the PA isn't doing enough for them. I think that that's like the general feeling. So, like, the PA just hasn't gotten them any closer to any kind of agreement. You went in the hottest week ever. How was it? The temperature was way more bearable than I thought. Middle Easterners are weak, but I've been forged by the Miami summers here, so. Is there a concrete plan for you to debate with Dave Smith? I don't know. A ton of people keep hitting me up to try to set it up, and I accept all of them, but I don't know if Dave... I feel like Dave is probably secretly dodging me in the background. Do you think that you being a non-Jew makes it a lot easier to feel safe and comfortable around being around Arabs? I mean, if you go to Israel and you actually talk to the people that live there, a lot of these people felt like every single person around the Gaza Strip, people in Tel Aviv would say that like prior to disengagement and prior to 2005, people would go to the beaches on Gaza. People would go to the beaches, they'd buy things from the markets, they would talk to the Palestinians there. That prior to disengagement, they had like no problem doing this. But as like issues crop up, as you have like your especially your second intifada, when disengagement happens, especially when Hamas takes over in the West Bank, or not the West Bank, I'm sorry, in the Gaza Strip, that things start to get scarier. But there's like a ton of integration, or there was before October 7th. There's a way more integration between Palestinians and Israelis, I think, than people realize, or at least way more than I realized. Yeah. How visible was religion in Jewish versus Palestinian areas? Religion? I mean, Jews fucking flags on everything. Holy shit. What was the disengagement? In 2005, the Prime Minister Ariel Sharon decided that he was going to dismantle all of the settlements in the Gaza Strip. There's a line on Wikipedia, some quote by some guy saying that Sharon did it for strategic reasons or some bullshit or whatever. I actually think Sharon's decision was really good. I think Sharon might have actually been a hidden OP Prime Minister. Fuck, my mouth is so dry. Do I want water or Red Bull? Nah, let's get a Red Bull. Hold on. Fuck it. Something that Shlomo Ben Ami said that was very interesting to me was that Ben Ami said that the true tragedy in the last 25 years wasn't Sharon, it wasn't Rabin dying, it was Sharon dying, which I thought was really interesting. It'll come up in our interview. But he basically goes on to argue that like Rabin was not like a peacenik, okay? So Rabin, or Rabin, I've heard his name pronounced both ways, Yitzhak Rabin or Yitzhak Rabin, was the guy that was the prime minister when the Oslo Accords get signed. And then he gets assassinated in 95, and people basically end up viewing him, as like a martyr for peace. Like that's how Rabin is remembered in Israel even, and in the West. He's like, oh yeah, the Oslo Accords, this guy. But I mean, Ben Ami says that like Rabin was not like a huge peacenik. He wasn't like, it's not like he was super dedicated to this. It's just that's where the times were. And he said that chances are, if Rabin wouldn't have been assassinated, if he would have remained prime minister, he would have wound up in the exact same scenario that Sharon was in. He said that the real tragedy was Sharon getting a stroke because Sharon really wanted to disassemble all of the West Bank settlements too. What Sharon wanted to do, but he did have the political support at the time, what Sharon wanted to do is he wanted to say, listen, okay, we f***ed up in 67. We are taking apart all the settlements in the Gaza Strip. We're taking apart all the settlements in the West Bank. We're going to secure the f*** out of our borders, and the Palestinians can deal with their own shit. F*** that. And we have nothing else to do with it anymore. It would get the international community off their back. They wouldn't have to like manage the Palestinians at all. They just have their borders, their security, that's it. And it would have been interesting on a counterfactual. It would have been interesting to see how that world would have played out, where Israel just completely renounces the West Bank, like fuck it, let them deal with it, as opposed to the shit show situation that you have now that's becoming increasingly intractable. Yeah. If you support the decision to disengage from Gaza, then you are, by implication, supporting Hamas, and their rise to governance since creating a political vacuum would have resulted into nothing else but Hamas rising to power. Ben-Gvir protested about this back in the day, and he was correct. Cool, good for you. Is it enough to remove Hamas and the West Bank settlements after all that's happened? What would peace take at this point? I don't know. That's a whole ass conversation. I don't think that peace can happen right now because I don't think both sides are ready for it. I think things have to be done to I feel like on the broadest level, and my thoughts on this might change over the coming weeks, is like things congeal in my mind. I think for Israelis, I think security is the big thing that needs to be dealt with. And then the messianic hallucinators need to be discarded. So the people obsessed with Judea and Samaria. And then on the Palestinian side, there has to be like a restoration of honor and dignity. There has to be a deal that they feel like they can walk away from, feeling like they got some restitution for, I guess, like the past 75 years of refugeedom that they've essentially been forced to endure. What that looks like exactly, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't even know if Israel considers that in their negotiations, but Do you think that people told you what they actually think? Do you think they were all honest? Yeah, I think everybody that I spoke to, I think, was honest. But none of the interviews that I did on this trip, none of the interviews that I did were very challenging. I just wanted to talk to people, get their opinion on things. I wasn't there to like push back or ultra debate people. Also because I have no credibility in this region whatsoever. So I didn't want to start having like, I think I went there with like 9 confirmed interviews or less. So I was like building credibility as I was doing these interviews, because I was doing some, and then like how those were going were being communicated to other people to see if I would like continue to do more, because I'm truly coming in here with no reputation. I'm just a crazy YouTuber, and nobody trusts fucking anybody in this region. So. Boner said that Barghouti kind of came off as dishonest to him. I mean, every Palestinian leader, we'll get through this as I do my interviews. There are 2 versions of history, and I do believe that Palestinians kind of live in their own world when it comes to their telling of events. But I think it's because of the honor-driven stuff. It has to be a particular way. It has to be the way in their mind that they tell it, because if it was another way, it would be like mind fracturing. It would shatter the collective psyche. I think that's a feeling I have. How many interviews do you end up doing in total? I don't know. I think like 25 or 30, or 20 to 30 depends on what counts as interviews or not. Yeah. Okay, we'll do this for 5 more minutes. From what you said in the first week, I thought you turned more pro-Zionist. What made you go back to the middle again? I mean, I don't think I'm back in the middle, but I think I feel pretty strongly about all the feelings that I have on everything. I feel like things are pretty solidified, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll go through my emotional adventure though, as we do day by day as we go through the footage. Do you think that this trip is giving you a better insight into the view of the people involved in this conflict? Maybe, but most of my thing was interviewing like diplomats and politicians and negotiators and stuff. So it wasn't as much like a down with the people thing. Did you see a lot of normal people that carry guns? I saw quite a few people carrying pistols, which was funny because going there, I heard that it's really hard to get one. But apparently after October 7th, a lot of Israelis started to get firearms. Well, I laugh. I mean, it's for understandable reasons, but... Are you going to go through some footage today? I don't think my camera guy has anything ready for it today, so I'll start going through probably tomorrow. Lonerbox said that he'd like to go back and do more street stuff. Yeah, I think street stuff would be interesting for sure. Do you think that online politics is causing more harm than good for the IP stuff? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Isn't the biggest picture fundamental problem that there isn't a negotiating partner for Israel to work with, one that's willing to clamp down on violence while fighting for the best deal for the Palestinians, and of course, not be an Iranian proxy? I think that I my current feeling is that Abbas is not treated as he should be by the Israelis. I think that Israel should invest more in building up Abbas. I don't think it's acceptable to call him a terrorist and to call him a terrorist supporter, even if he kind of does sometimes, when the man is such a massive improvement from Arafat. Mahmoud Abbas is not perfect. He definitely has issues, and the PA is not perfect and has issues, but it is leaps and bounds ahead of Arafat, who I think that in this trip my opinion of Abbas climbed, and it borrowed from my opinion of Arafat. I think Arafat was a truly horrible person past the 90s. I just think that he was always going to be a general. He was always going to be a military leader, and he just didn't have politics or diplomacy in him in any way, size, shape, or form. Yeah. Is Abbas relevant in Palestinian society? Do you think he can run a country with 10% support? I think that if Israel supported him more, I think it's possible that he could. And I mean, the PA has brought a lot of security to a lot of West Bank cities. As much as Palestinians might not like it, and as much as Israelis might not like the PA, like the PA has like made strides in security and in the situation on the ground in the West Bank. Like it really has. And Abbas is just such a better negotiating partner. Is so much better than Arafat, despite his flaws. But how would you alleviate fear of Palestinians from Jews? Do you still think Israelis should have to sit back and take a few small terrorist attacks for peace? What can Palestinians do better for peace? I feel like strong commitments from the Palestinian side against terrorism and stuff like that, which I think Abbas generally does. I'm not aware of him like calling for violence or supporting it like Arafat did in the Second Intifada. Maybe somebody could show me clips. Maybe he has, and I'm not as aware of that. But what are you talking about? The security in the West Bank is from Israeli security forces. The PA forces are totally anemic. I don't know what you're talking about. The IDF does not provide security inside of Palestinian cities in the West Bank. They only go in there if they think that there's a perceived security threat to Israel. What about Abbas's support for pay for slay? Elon Levy brought it up, and you didn't have an answer. I mean, I think it's pretty shitty. I don't think it's a good thing at all. But in order to start taking things like that off the table, I think he needs things from Israel. I wouldn't have I don't have the mind for. I have the mind for it. I don't have the facts for what these negotiations would have to look like, or there might be reasons that are contraindicating things I would suggest. But I feel like you could get rid of the martyr fund. You could get rid of pay for slay, but Abbas has to be seen by the Palestinians as walking away with something. He can't just be making concessions to Israelis and getting nothing for it. If Israel were to make guarantees for unrestricted access to water and electricity for the West Bank and Gaza, and then as a result of that, the martyr fund went away or something like that, maybe that would be possible. But it can't be Abbas just unilaterally dropping things. He's already so unpopular as a leader. He has to be seen as getting something. It's just not. Okay. All right. 3:30. Why can't Abbas offer that? Is he okay with the pay for slave fund being as it is? Because you just can't do that. If you're seen as the leader of your people and you're giving away things, you're making concessions to your occupiers, and you're not getting anything in return, the legitimacy of you is continually undermined. You're losing more and more and more support from your people because you're just seen as being weak and giving in to the Israelis. You have to be getting something for it. Yeah. How would Israel navigate the propaganda battle when making concessions, when Al Jazeera has such a hold on that region? How will the gains not be framed as victory of violence? Maybe it can be victory of violence. Fuck it. What Israel has to recognize is that There is no way to ever win the propaganda war against Palestinians. You can't do it. It is an impossible thing to do. Hamas can rape and pillage and kill on October 7th, and people don't care that much. You cannot. You can't win that. That situation has to be resolved, and it has to be resolved through diplomacy. No amount of missiles you're not going to shoot your way out of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict if you're Israel. You have to resolve that conflict. It doesn't matter how good your arguments are. I think they are good. It doesn't matter how logical or rational or legal your arguments are. I think they are logical. I think they're rational. I think they're reasonable. At the end of the day, people are just going to see people living in undignified conditions. They're going to see the amount of deaths that are happening on the Gazan side, on the West Bank side, and they're going to see like the relative dispossession of Palestinians versus Israelis, and nobody's going to accept it. You just can't. It would take a sociopath to walk through parts of that country and look at both sides and go like, yeah, I definitely see that Israel's on the right. You can't. It's just not possible, even if the facts are all on your side. So I think that Israel has to resolve that issue. It just has to. Why do you think Palestine has done such a good job in the PR department? I think Soviet Union training helped. I think a lot. They learned propaganda well. Before you go, give the word, I shall free your people. Do it, forethought. Pull the trigger. How was the food? The food was good. Oh, that'll be one other thing I talk about in the coming days. Although this is really just more for my audience, because literally not a single human being outside of my audience is going to give a fuck about this, because of how mind rotted most of you fucking retards are. Where was this? Israel invests so much in their messaging, they literally have a name for it, Hasbara. Hasbara is the biggest fucking joke in the history of all of fucking mankind. Israel's foreign communication is fucking dog shit. I don't know if they think that they're above it or they're better than it or if they've just given up on it. But the idea that Israel has some like well-oiled propaganda machine is that, I think, in my mind, I think that is like immediately the discrediting thing. Like if somebody even suggests that I know that you have absolutely no concept of what that country struggles with in terms of messaging and communication and how the international community views them. Israeli propaganda is a fucking joke. They cannot do it. I don't know why, but Israel has lost the ability to communicate with the West sometime after 2005, I guess, or sometime after the year 2000, maybe. And I knew this. I knew the facts for this, but I just didn't have like the story, the narrative, I guess. If you want to look at propaganda and you want to look at who does propaganda well, I think you're looking at countries like Russia, China, and then like Iran and Qatar. I think these are people that are making huge investments in foreign propaganda that are paying dividends, I think, in terms of how they invest and in terms of the results that they see. Just the idea that like Jews are running like all this shit. It's like, okay, well, look at the schools. Where are all of your pro-Jewish people? They don't exist, right? Like, look at all of your protests. Look at all of the media and the propaganda. I think that that one emailer that emailed me a couple months ago brought up such a good point too. It looked like for a little bit that Jews were like super coming down hard on conservatives and shit, but it wasn't Jews and it wasn't pro-Jewish people. It was just people who were opposed to white supremacy, which is like all of the woke crowd, all of like the far left, the Marxists, the socialists, whatever the fuck. For a while, it looked like, oh, wow, they're calling everybody a Nazi. Wow, must be like Jewish propaganda. No, it's just far left woke shit. The reason why they call them a Nazi is because they think they're white supremacists. And now you can see that completely turned on its head today because all of those same woke people that all of the far right assumed were being controlled by Jews are now calling Jews Nazis. It's just, yeah. But that was one of the interviews, one of the recordings I'll have. The story behind it and everything is funny, but it's so funny. I'm sitting around this table with like 10 different Jewish people who are all like flustered, trying to figure out like, how do we communicate our goals to the West? Like, why does nobody in the West understand us? Like, blah, blah, blah. And it's just funny, the difference between that and like Fuentes will say shit like, yeah, the Jews are running all the media, blah, blah, blah. But I can think of like 3 different huge examples off the top of my head where it's like, yeah, it's just not even close. Yeah. At Destiny, the Palestinian Authority currently is in a fiscal decline. How could you ever think they are good enough to govern? It seems to me you're picking the best out of a bad bunch, which will fuck Jews over in the end, since they permit terrorism regardless. Hit Jules, not kids. Listen, bro, you can think what you want. Your country right now, if you are indeed a Jewish Zionist person, is on a path towards destruction. If you don't think you can work with the PA, if you don't think you can work with any other organizations on the ground, if you think the Palestinians are violent or whatever, that's fine. Your country will be forfeit, and you will lose it, and it will all die. Good luck. Did you get a spiritual awakening? Fuck no. And that would be the fault of Hamas, the PA and Western leftists, not Israelis' fault. Cool. And there's a lot of people at the gates of heaven, on their bicycles saying that they had the right of way. I mean, the problem is that the Jews of today are not built like the Jews in the 30s and 40s. Like, you truly are mind fucked. You truly are fucking retarded. And I think it's sad that when you read where Jews came from, your Herzls, your Ben Gurions, your Moshe Dayans, like, these were they were visionary people that wielded diplomacy, foreign communication, military might and prowess and strategy and cunning. Like, they wielded all of these weapons so effectively in such a sophisticated multi-pronged strategy. But the Jews of today are your Smotrich and your Ben Gvir defenders who think that you can just shoot your way out of any fucking problem. And you will be crushed by the Arab armies of the Middle East. You don't have the people for it. You don't have the support from the West for it. You don't have the support from the populations for it. Even your own population is turning against you. Like, I'm sorry, but the right wing, the military Jews of today are just so much dumber than the Jews that ran your country 80 years ago. It's actually fucking pathetic. But I don't give a fuck. It's not my country. Good luck. Okay. I keep saying to this guy, I've got these two crazy Zionists in my kick chat that are trying to go the fuck out of me. At Destiny, Jews are retarded. Okay, anti-Semitic subhuman fuck. Enjoy your shit country overrun by crime and decline. Israel has the most Nobel Prize winners out of any shithole you live in, Destiny. True. Maybe you guys can invent a fucking time machine so you can go back to when your kingdoms were actually relevant on the world stage. Good luck. What are you going to do after the kick contract ends? I don't know. We'll see. What'd you think of Hebron? It was interesting, but the problem with I knew this in advance, but I wanted to talk to Yishai because he's very outspoken. He'll give me like a good conversation, good debate, which he did, and I appreciated that. I only got to go to H2. If I would have gone with the tour guide that I had for East Jerusalem and for Ramallah, I definitely would have gone to H1. Hebron is split into two different cities. Or not two cities, but it's split into two areas. We've got H2, which is controlled and administered by the IDF in Israel, and then the second part is controlled by the Palestinian Authority, H1. And H1 is definitely the majority of the city, and yeah. But I only got to we got to speak to some Arab leaders, a big Arab business guy in H2, but I think going to H1 would have been different. Yeah. Do you still support the military presence in Gaza? Yeah, I think security is a non-negotiable for Israel, and I think that's a worthy cause. I don't think Israelis should feel ashamed about wanting security for their country. I know you don't believe me, but my contact in the West Bank just got back to me. If you'd stayed in Israel for one more week, I might have been able to fix you with an interview with the boss. Listen, if you ever think you can do it, I would go back to interview him, of course. Do you think Israel should go back to 67 borders? Something like that, with land swaps. But I don't think that borders are like the one thing that Palestinians are the most obsessed with. But I mean, like, I think the percentage might matter, but yeah, I don't know. Did you talk to any IDF baddies? I didn't have time for anything recreational on that trip. It was all fucking work. If you could say one pro-Palestinian thing you got from the trip and one pro-Israeli thing, what would it be? One pro-Palestinian thing, one pro-Israeli thing. As a small culture thing, Middle Eastern people, this is true, especially true of Jewish people, are very polite. Like when you go into their house, they always offer you coffee. This is true for Palestinians as well. They always have like, for Jewish people, they always have like a tray of like nuts or sweets or something on the table for you to eat. Like they're always like very, very, very hospitable. You'll see this in my interviews. One thing that's also very funny, one thing that mind fucked me so hard, was like, there are so many things that I just think are like anti-Semitic tropes, but it's like, it's not, it's real. Like even at the last day when somebody would ask me like, oh, that's going to be like 90 shekels. Like I'm like giggling, like shekels, really? The fact that old Jewish guys actually talk like fucking memes. Let me tell you, you think that this is good. You think this is good. Like the holding the hand at you, like asking questions, and you think this is okay. This is not okay. Like the way that they speak, the mannerisms, I thought that was very fucking funny. I think my first 3 like old Jewish interviews, old people Jewish interviews are like, they all speak like that, like crazy. I think it's like really funny. Were you on Vyvanse during the trip? For the first week, I wasn't. Like I said, I always get scared stacking Vyvanse and lack of sleep. But then for the last like 4 or 5 days, I was, because it was, oh man, dude. I want to take like one of those formal, I don't know if it's an IQ test, the things that measure like your working memory and shit. One difference that I notice on Vyvanse and off Vyvanse, if I'm not on my Vyvanse, if I'm listening to somebody and they say something and I want to respond to it later, holding that question in my head while listening to them is almost impossible. I have to find 2 words and just repeat them over and over again. So if somebody's talking like, oh yeah, like yesterday I saw Samantha and she was doing a cool horseback riding event, and then and I'm thinking like, oh shit, I want to ask him more about Samantha's horse. Like I have to think in my head, I'm going to think Sam horse, Sam horse, Sam horse, Sam horse. I have to repeat that to myself until he finishes his sentence, and then I can go back and hopefully I remember what those 2 words are going to be. Yeah. Oh my God, it was so annoying. But when I'm on Vyvanse, I can just like listen and be like, oh, okay, I need to remember this quote. And then whatever. And then when they finish speaking, I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. And then what about, Samantha's horse? Jesus Christ. Doing interviews without, I don't know how the fuck I ever debated or ever did anything without my Vyvanse. Oh my fucking God. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, I would type notes on my computer, true. Using my little iPad to take notes on has been nice for sure. Did you miss anything about the U.S. while they're in Israel? I missed the, what did I miss? America has water fountains everywhere. That's really nice. A second nice thing is that, fuck, I just had a thing in my mind and it slipped. Oh, good internet. Oh my God, the internet was so ass. Even the Wi-Fi was so bad fucking everywhere. Oh, Israeli traffic is quite aggressive. They don't honk as much as I thought they would. It's kind of funny. I think that Israelis are just like resigned to like shit traffic. It's like, it's very interesting that on one hand, I think they do drive quite a bit more aggressively than most places I've driven in the US, but they also just like accept when shit is fucked. Like if I was driving let's say that I'm driving in California or Toronto, like LA, Toronto, Miami, whatever, right? If I'm driving, let's say that I'm driving in a car on like a, no wait, this should be a solid line. Like a 2-way road like this, right? And these cars are going this direction, these cars are going this direction, okay? If I even tap my brakes right here on this car, I've got 20 people behind me honking. If I even tap my brakes, they're like, some motherfucker better be dying in your car if you're slowing down on this one lane, okay? In Israel, people would just like fucking stop. They just stop their car in the middle of the fucking road and everybody just kind of like moves around them, which I think is very funny. It's like, there were so many times where like our driver just like stops. I'm like, bro, we're like in the middle of the fucking, and like people just like drive around everything and they just I'm like, okay, which I thought was, yeah, really funny. One thing that I'll say I don't know if this matters or not. If you are, I've driven in more places than most people, but in not as many places as everybody. Take what I say with a grain of salt, okay? In my personal opinion, places that have aggressive drivers or that seem scary to drive in are only scary because you're treating the traffic like you would treat a cat that you're afraid of. If there's a cat that's sitting there and you're afraid of the cat and you put your hand in front of it and you kind of go to pet it over and over again, the cat's just going to swing at you and bite you because it looks like you're fucking with it. But it usually just going, like, you show the cat your hand, you pet the cat, usually the cat's chill. Generally, that's how it goes. With traffic that seems aggressive or scary, I feel like the people that are the most frightened by it, that have really bad experiences with it, are just too afraid to go where they need to go. This was true in Israel. I mean, I drove a healthy amount between Jerusalem, between Tel Aviv, and then up north to Rana, I think. Just merge. Just merge. Put your turn signal on and merge. As long as you just do it. This is true in LA, San Francisco, Miami Beach, Miami, in every major city, Toronto, every major city I've ever driven in where people complain about the drivers. You just have to put your signal on and merge. Don't be scared. Don't turn on the signal and wait. Because I find that skittish drivers or drivers that drive in more passive areas, that generally what happens is what they're used to doing is they're used to turning on the signal and then somebody creating space for them and then merging. That's not how that works. But if you just merge, people will respect it. Nobody's going to crash into you. Well, hopefully not. But yeah, I noticed that in driving in Tel Aviv, in Israel, the traffic is quite aggressive and quite adventurous. But it was manageable. I didn't have any problems, I don't think. Is Honey gone? No, I think he's at Dan's right now. Did you speak to any Bet Selim? I did. You'll see that interview. Ugh. What did people in the West Bank generally think about what leaders in Gaza should do? Continue fighting or surrender? I don't know if we asked those questions. I'm not sure. I know we did a couple good interviews. We'll find out, yeah. Well, as we go through it. Who's the most influential person you spoke with? I don't know. I mean, Olmert is an ex-prime minister, so that would be like the equivalent of our president, an ex-president. But I mean, that was like 15 years ago. If I had to guess, it probably would have been, what was his name? It was something Barghouti, not the one that's in jail right now. Somebody type his name. Oh, Mustafa Barghouti is probably right now, I would say. Why didn't you do the live streams like that? The internet was too shit everywhere. How was it in Kfar Asa? Rough. That place is fucked. Is there a way that I can like log into my iCloud and look? I'm learning how to take pictures. I figure since I'm like wearing real clothes now, I can like start figuring out like more artistic stuff. And I learned a little bit under Melina. There were a few shots that I took that I'm kind of proud of, but it's just a whole last thing figuring it out. I don't know if I can. I don't know what's in that iCloud drive. I can't look at that on screen. Why the switch on caring about clothes? For Israel, it's because I don't have any credibility over there. I don't want to show up. I feel like showing up in like sweatpants and talking to some of these people would be super disrespectful. Like I don't know those people. They have no reason to believe I've got any credibility to anything. So I'm gonna look presentable when I talk to these people. Some Israelis in the subreddit were being angry at you because you said in the interview with Tamir Dortal that a deal should be reached sooner rather than later. Yeah, I mean, I think they should try to come to a deal as quickly as possible. But I feel like that's obvious. That doesn't necessarily mean I think that they should leave Hamas in power. Although I did hear a really good argument from... was this from Balin or was it from Ben-Ami? Somebody was like, they should just do a ceasefire right now to get the hostages back and just wait because Hamas will break the ceasefire anyway. And then you go after it, take them out then. I was like, oh, maybe, yeah. Do you plan on showing any interviews every day today? No. We should be done talking about this. Fuck you. Are your notes public to view? Yeah. Oh, I probably need to republish. Did you go out in Tel Aviv at night? And if so, did you feel safe walking there at night? I felt safe in most of Israel. I'm going to be honest. I feel like everybody overblows like how fucked some areas are. Like, I'm sure if I was like walking around in fucking Jenin or some refugee camp outside of Jenin with like a big Star of David on my back, it'd be pretty spooky. But I felt pretty safe in almost, yeah, in almost all of in every place I was. There was only one time that I felt unsafe. Did Lonerbox go over this? Did Yobel send me a video? Holy shit. What about the homeless guy yelling at you? It's just a homeless guy yelling. What do you want me to say? Was he actually homeless? That was my guess. Or maybe not homeless, but like a beggar. He was like on the side of the road begging. Oh, this was cute. All of the, my videographer has so much better footage of this. We were near, I don't know where we're at all the time. Jerusalem is a really big place. All the Zionist guys got super ass pained at me when I said that, is it the Kedebaria? I don't know what the fuck it's called. One of the crossings takes you into East Jerusalem, and I said West Jerusalem, and they all got severe ass pain when I said that. All of the little kids that were coming out of school in, is this in East Jerusalem? Oh, these places blend together so hard for me. We're super excited to, like, anytime people saw a camera, like for the kids, they always wanted to come up and be like a YouTuber or a TikToker. And they wanted to like show off their English or chat. I thought that was kind of cute. It is kind of crazy that like these places in the back are, this is the temple of the patriarchs and the matriarchs. I think that, am I right here? I think isn't it Abraham, Isaac, and Joseph? All three are buried there, right? And their wives, right? All the wives except Rachel. Why didn't she get buried there? Did you have a Hassan fan moment? Coke boycott meme? No, not really. Apparently someone's wife recognized you from Twitter and thought you were pro-Israeli. Yeah, people, a lot of people think I'm super pro-Israeli, yeah.
Am I in the right spot? I feel like, I don't care. Tell me when the light turns.
Oh, I think this is straight footage. Okay, so Shabbat is, just nothing happens in this country for like 24 hours, and it's so fucking annoying. Also, they always have holidays. Either the Arabs are on holidays or the Jews are on holidays. Okay, Christ, there are so many stupid holidays, and Shabbat just shuts down at everything. Okay, so we're trying to drive to Jerusalem. I sent my security guy home because we were past a certain point in the day, and I don't want to pay overtime for him. Hold on one second. Open this. So we're driving to, do I need these? So we're driving to Jerusalem, and I take a wrong turn, okay?
This is a bad country to be taking wrong turns in, you know?
Kind of true. Am I in the right spot? I feel like.
So I take one wrong turn, but it's okay because like the other, to get to our hotel in Jerusalem, if you take like the wrong turn, it's like it has like 2 minutes. So it's not a big deal. Whatever. Okay. Takes 2 minutes. That's okay.
I don't care. Tell me when the light turns. Whew, 3-on-1. That girl's getting. Oh my god.
What was that?
That was like the highest level spellcaster. Holy shit.
So some of the Jews have really big hats on. I don't know why. I'm sure it's religious, but yeah, but I mean, at least there's like no traffic while we're driving, so you know, whatever.
Did you see that?
I did not see that. What happened?
Yeah, the hugest hat.
All right.
He was like a fucking Jewish Grand Master. Oh.
Okay, so we start driving here, and I'm like, okay, well there are no cars. I'm supposed to like go through this road.
My god.
Damn it, we are actually in fucking.
Every single motherfucker here starts looking at us.
We're in.
Holy shit,
serious
am I about to
Jew
get
country
fucking
right now.
mob?
Yeah, they're looking at us funny.
They're like,
I don't
What?
think these guys are the rioters though. Like
I'm not like in the wrong area, am I? Wait, what the fuck is happening? Oh shit!
and then I realized that it's Jerusalem, and I've heard about neighborhoods here, and it's Shabbat, and I don't think you're supposed to drive on Shabbat because they have some crazy, stupid, fucking religious bullshit. And apparently this is like some ultra fundy, crazy fuck neighborhood in fucking Jerusalem where they, I guess like when Shabbat happens, they all come out and they pretend it's like the 1500s and they walk around like Amish people or some bullshit.
Shit.
what?
Am I in a wrong area?
Maybe.
I try to roll down the window to ask somebody for help and they literally just run away from my car.
I just realized because we're like driving on Shabbat.
Oh.
Fucking
The whole street clears out.
kill me.
And now I feel like so fucking awkward because I'm supposed to drive through. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna run the light and like drive through. Get me the fuck out of
Is
here.
that why they're looking at us funny?
Yeah, that's why everybody's fucking walking because Shabbat's already started or whatever.
More spellcasters, the big
Oh god,
hats.
those hats. Look
Oh,
at
the
that.
advanced spellcasters. We have to get out of here.
The fucking
Yeah.
grand wizards.
Oh fuck, bro, this is so fucking awkward.
So then I want to drive this way,
Oh, I'm not
but they gate all their fucking roads off. So now they're like, they've got gates up and they've got their army of like Jewish Shabbat enforcers back here.
even supposed to fucking be here. Oh,
They're all staring at us. And I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to drive my fucking car. Okay. What is happening right now?
there's a gate up. They gate their city. Okay. We'll follow this guy. Yeah, get me the fuck out of here.
All these people are like, thank God the ambulance. I'm just going to follow this guy out. This was probably the most like irked. I won't say like scared because I don't think they would have done anything to us. Although at the time I kind of felt a little bit weird. But this was definitely the most irked I was for my entire fucking trip. Holy shit. Also, I'm never on my phone while driving because it's illegal to do that in Israel and I would never do that. Yeah, people say they throw stones at people that try to drive through there. So lucky us, I guess. How did you set up the interviews? I had 4 different teams of people that were fielding interviews for me. And then I was coordinating between those people to have different time slots filled in different areas with drivers and security available, and then seeing the availability of the people who were going to be interviewed. It was a lot of on-the-fly work. How much did everything cost you? I think I said probably by the end of the day, my guess would be probably about 40 grand for everything. Plus, the real hurt was a lost time working. But did you have any GPS disruptions? Yeah, we visited Beirut like 20 times that trip. Apparently, they scrambled the GPS anytime Hezbollah is shooting rockets. So, did your lady friend have fun? Lena? Yeah, I think she enjoyed it. I think she lost like 30 followers though, or people like blocked her because I was in pictures with her. Good times. Did you just get super ass mad for the Hassan Orbiter shit talking stuff, or do you think you'd actually be interested in turning up the aggro? We'll talk about that. Is that on my list of things to talk about? Hold on, I do have a list of things to go over today. Okay, we're done with this. If you want to talk about Israel, come back tomorrow. I'll schedule this. What do you want?
Okay, bro, this is how you treat someone who hosts you in their home? The fuck?
I'm sorry. Okay, you get 2 minutes. What do you want?
Hey, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that your position for Palestinians in Israel is actually a pro-Palestinian position, while in the West it's a pro-Israeli position?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, because remember, I told you that someone in my family recognized you and knew about your like anti-Muslim tweets or like jokes at least. I don't know if you can beat it or not. I don't care. She generally thought you were pro-Israel because, you know, Twitter, and when people get clipped on Twitter, they can be shaped in any way the clipper wants them to be clipped at. And then when I told her you were two-state solution like supporter, she was confused, thinking like, how is that pro-Israel? Because have you noticed that in Israel that is not a pro-Israel position?
Yeah, I mean oh yeah, Yishai Fleischer kept calling this shrinkage. He kept referring to shrinking Israel. Yeah, I mean, obviously the international conversation and the domestic conversation are completely and totally disconnected from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think like it was probably not surprising for you, I guess, but for Loner, he was like hit with it as a truck. He did not expect that like a two-state solution for Palestinians was like a pro-Palestinian argument here, while it's not abroad.
Yeah,
He was
because
really
abroad they just
confused.
want like the crazy one state like dissolving. Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, any solution you have for people abroad that involves having Jews on that land is like pro-Israeli.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But
Yeah, but yeah, that was about it. Also, you did throw a tantrum. I don't know why.
yeah, I did, but it wasn't because I wanted a milkshake. It's because I needed to go on a fucking
If you
walk.
wanted to walk, I could have just told you where to walk because like I didn't want you to get lost. Because remember,
I have
like,
Google
fucking-
Maps. I'm not gonna get lost.
You don't have internet randomly.
Yes, I do. I have internet. I've literally driven through the Kfar Qasim. I have internet everywhere. It's not a third world country as much as you might want to pretend it is. Okay, for fucking
Yes, it is. It's
For
a
Twitter,
war-torn
all right.
country. It's a
Jesus.
war-torn country. Okay?
And then was it your dad or your brother? Somebody was telling me like,
My
like,
brother.
yeah, if you walk out there, people are gonna run you
Oh, that
over
was
with
my
their
younger
cars.
brother.
And I'm like, bro, I don't think we get ran over, but okay, Jesus.
No one's gonna run you over, but like you probably fucking. Well, by the way, just for fucking clarification, my brother's like severely autistic, so.
Bro, don't shit on your brother. Like, what the fuck?
I'm not shitting on him. It's a genuine bro. Because like while you were inside, he was giving dawah to my friends outside.
Oh wait, I listened to that. You mean when he was trying to convert them all to fucking Islam or whatever, or when he was?
I legit, I was like asking him, what the fuck were you doing? Because I was.
Bro, he was talking about that. He was talking about his faith, man. Salvation
but
through
not-
Islam.
Okay, why would you go to? Okay, I legit.
That's what you
told
guys
him,
do, isn't it? Like a whole proselytizing religion?
no.
Yeah, you try to convert
when
people.
Hold on. I told my parents about it. It's like that was weird as fuck. Why would you do that? Because like there's no real dawah brother in like where we live. It's not like fucking London or whatever the fuck where people preach their religion to each other. Preaching your religion is generally really looked down upon in Israel, and like
Oh, well.
I'm assuming in the West Bank too. You don't really preach your religion to others.
Okay. Well,
So it's
I'll
pretty funny.
bully your brother next time I see him, all right?
He can probably take you. I'm sorry.
Probably, yeah. Okay. I love you.
All right, chat. Yeah.
Bye.